Now let's go ahead and create the teeth for our character. Let's go and use the mask tool to mask out a part of the mesh here that we're going to be used as a basic shape for our teeth. We're going to extract out this portion here. Let's go to mask, mask extract, and just make sure that you uncheck extract as solid and press OK. And hit the tab key, select the faces and extrude it out. I find that I get better result when extruding rather than extracting as solid. And just use the move tool to pull it out further. So this is going to be for the biggest part of the teeth here that we're doing. And for this one, at least we have a base mesh. Let's go set origin to geometry. That way we have the move tool right in place, and let's go to sculpt mode. While we are on our sculpt mode, we're going to use our smoothing brush. Just make sure you have symmetry turned on and make sure that you remesh this, otherwise you just won't be able to sculpt. I'm going to set it to 0.06 and remesh. I'm going to bring it down a little bit, the voxel size, so we have more polygons to work with, and remesh and just smooth it out. 0.02 and remesh. So you just want to play around with the voxel size. You want enough polygons so that you're able to add a few shapes there, but you don't want too many polygons where it's gonna give you a hard time smoothing out the mesh. And I'm just using the inflate brush to thicken up the tusk. And as you're doing this, you're gonna constantly just remesh the surface here. Control R to remesh, remember that. And then just using the grab brush to just grab it and thicken it up and put it in place. You see me, I'm always changing my brush size for all of my brush tools, which is very important if you want to get the right shape. So looking from the top and the bottom, inflate the thickness of the teeth here so we got a little bit more bulk. So using my grab brush, you just pull it up. You want it quite sharp at the top, but not so sharp where it looks like a knife. So just be aware of that. Let's go to our move tool and just gonna use the move tool to kind of further set some space between the teeth here. So just figure out a right location for this using the move tool, the move brush here, and then the rotate brush here to just kind of rotate this a little bit so it's the pointy parts pointing up a little bit forward. Okay, so right here, just gonna go ahead and use my inflate brush to just inflate this a little bit, and using my grab brush to move this. So just look in all views, make sure you got the right shape down. But yeah, right now it's not really fitting the teeth, but we're gonna work on that in a minute. So now back on the head of the character, we're gonna have to mask the lower part of the face, the lips and the jaw. We need to mask this out because we're gonna manipulate this area. That way the teeth will fit perfectly here on the mouth area. And just make sure you have soft edges for your mask. You can hold the shift key as you mask Control I to invert. And then back on my regular masking brush. The bigger your brush size, the softer the edges will be as you do your masking here. So there you go. Now I'm going to use my grab brush to pull out the lower lips here. Yeah, as you can see, this part is masked because this here is not fitting in exactly on the mouth area. And so by masking this part, we can manipulate the lower lips here and also the jaw so that the teeth is actually inside the mouth area of the character. Using the grab brush now with a pretty big brush size, just gonna move that to the side and move it forward. Make sure you're looking at all views as you do this so you know every part is good. This is the thing with 3D, you gotta make sure that you are viewing all parts, all views of the character. Okay, so it's kind of inside there. Pull that out a bit. Back onto the sculpt mode. Move that down. Now keep in mind that later on we will be doing the gums and the tongue of the character inside, but right now it's just best to have a basic shape down for the teeth. And right now it's fairly rough, but later we are going to be retopologizing the teeth to make it look more refined, but right now it's just focusing on getting the shape down. Okay, so now it's time for us to do the molars. The molars of the teeth area, the little parts of the teeth. So I'm gonna go ahead and mask this out first. Invert it. And then just smooth out the edges of the mask. Hold shift to smooth out the edges. And then using the grab brush, just gonna go ahead and pull this down a bit, because I think we need more spacing here. Yeah, keep in mind that you still need to look at the bottom view of your character. Make sure you still have that round shape. So yeah, you don't want it flat. You want to keep it round from the bottom and the top. And then using my clay strip brush, just add more of that node on the corner of the lips. So really things like that will give it more of that realistic feel to it. And right now I'm just using my draw sharp to just push this in. So this is gonna be more so that we have visuals of the opening of the mouth area. Using the draw sharp, just pushing that in. Right now we do have really low poly to work with, but that's okay. Just go ahead and remesh this as you go. As you can see, when you're stretching the mesh, you might have to bring down the voxel size and then remesh again. Yeah, I have to bring down the voxel size. That way, if I remesh, I have more polys to work with. The more and more depth that you add onto the face, the more polygons you will need, and thus the lower the voxel size will be. Yeah, you can see me just kind of messing around with the voxel size to get the right amount. Just you can tell that it's the right amount if you're gonna be able to, when you remesh it, you see that it's still retaining the shape, but at the same time you're able to add more shapes to it. You're still able to sculpt without lagging. That's how you could tell you're on the right track and you have the right amount of voxel size. And here using my draw sharp and just trying to redefine the corner of the lips. and remesh that. Push that in. Using the draw brush to push it in. There you go. And turn on the teeth again. So you got the teeth going. And now that I have a little depth there, I could use my grab brush to just kind of modify this further. Pull this back out, that way it looks like it's gonna wrap around the teeth area. So yeah, you need to think about the actual shape of the teeth and then have the mouth area kind of touching this, wrapping around it. So that's what you should be thinking as you are creating this. Really think about the functionality of the teeth and how it interacts with the mouth area. And using the draw sharp to just create the border of the lips. And using my grab brush to just kind of fix up a little bit more of the shape, adding a little bit more forms in the chin. And then back on the lip area. Okay, looking from this view, making sure that the interaction of the teeth is going well with the side of the mouth. Here I'm using the draw sharp to just carve in the clay so we get a little bit more folds in the lip area. And then back on the clay strip to just add a little bit of volume. And it's trying to bulk up the cheekbone a little bit. Okay, so looking from this view, what we could do now is we could create the bottom part of the teeth, the small part of the teeth, the incisors. So masking this area out, we're gonna apply the same concept of the way we did the big part of the teeth, the tusk. Yeah, I guess I would say this is more like the big pointy tusk of the orc. But right now, I'm doing the same concept as we did previously, the way we did the teeth here. It's gonna be the same concept the way that we do the front teeth. You know, we got the orc has this smaller teeth, and then you got the big teeth, and then the smaller ones. And yeah, right now we are doing the smaller ones and applying the same concept, just gonna mask this area out and then extract it and then extrude out the faces from there. Okay, so I'm gonna mask, extract, turn off extract as solid, and press OK. And so you can see that we have a plane there that we could work with. Select all the vertices or the faces and then extrude it out. And then just gonna move it back. There you go. Move it up. And then back onto sculpting mode. And as you can see, everything is stretched. What we need to do is we need to remesh this. First, I'm gonna bring down the voxel size and hit the remesh button. And if I try to smooth it, it looks like it's gonna give me a hard time smoothing this thing. Let me see. Okay, so yeah, if you are having a hard time at the beginning after you remesh, just go ahead and click on the smooth brush. Yeah, sometimes you just gotta go to the smooth brush and then just start smoothing it, and it should work. Yeah, I like to create the teeth, the basic forms of the teeth at the beginning, and they're gonna be like just together and just kind of have like a little, really very, very basic shape down. But later on, we are gonna be creating the individual teeth when it's time to retopologize. We're gonna be using what we have here to create the individual teeth later on, and you will see exactly how I would do that. But it's best to do it like this at the beginning. I like to do it like this at the beginning because it's such a much more organic way to sculpt and to get the actual shape down of the teeth. So it's just a really much artistic, natural way to do it. And by using this technique, I'm able to construct the shape much more accurately and quickly. And then once we have it down, it's just going to be so much easier later when we retopologize, and then we don't have to do much tweaking later. Yeah, I just prefer sculpting in general because for me, I get the likeness down pretty quickly and much easier than extruding faces or extruding vertices. There are people who prefer to just do some box modeling when they do the teeth, but I just prefer to do it this way, sculpt and then retopologize on top, and that way I get more professional looking result later on in the end product. Yeah, so the oryx teeth actually has, I'm doing the sharper teeth, and then we got like a little bit more of the canine, a little bit more canine in there, and then we got incisors on the front. And then move that up, just sharpen it. See, right now I'm just making them like they're together, but this is just temporary. But it's good to have a general information of what we're going to be working with. It's easier to see the overall picture of the teeth when you do it this way. And just remember to keep on remeshing as you sculpt to evenly redistribute those polygons as you pull out the mesh, push out the mesh. Then on my clay strip brush, just adding a little bit more volume here. You might want to hide your head just so that you can see the overall shape of the teeth at the bottom. So you can see I'm going back and forth between using my clay strip brush and my inflate brush, and now I'm using the scrape brush. Using the scrape brush here, I use that to just kind of add a little bit plainer shapes onto the teeth. That way we could have a little bit more of a sharpness on some areas, and it just gives your canine there a little bit more variety. And then just using the grab brush, just curve this out. Make sure that you are looking in all views as you're doing this. And go set origin to geometry. That way the move tool is where the geometry is at. And just, the good thing about this, you're able to just really change the shape of the teeth so quickly with the sculpting brush. Yeah, right now it looks really rough, guys, but don't worry. as I mentioned before, we are going to be retopologizing this and create the individual teeth that we need. But yeah, really rough sketch. Get it all together first. Alright, for this one, I'm just gonna go ahead and rename this teeth. And then this one also, I'm gonna name it teeth 2. So just good idea to rename things once you start to have more and more geometry. Alright, back onto the sculpt mode where we're on the head. And let's go ahead and mask the upper lip area. And invert it. And you could see, you gotta mask this out here. And smooth it to smooth out the edges. Smooth out the edges of the mask. Okay, so I wanna kinda fix the shape of the upper lips here without affecting the rest of the mesh. It needs to be opened up a little bit more. Oh, a little too far. Let's bring that work back in. And smooth that out. Smooth out the edges of the mask. So I like to just make the teeth a little bit more relaxed. So you don't really want him screaming as you are sculpting a character like this. You want it relaxed because if you're planning to animate this later, you don't want him to have a mouth that's already way wide open. It's just going to be a little bit more difficult to animate. But yeah, just like you're making the body a relaxed T pose or A pose, same way if you're doing the mouth area or the eye area, you don't want to, unless your character is going to be angry all the time or the mouth's going to be open all the time, then it's probably okay to exaggerate on the facial features from the get-go when you're sculpting or modeling. But yeah, in general though, when you're doing characters, you want to make every part as relaxed as possible. And then later on, when you give this to the animator, then the animator could make all those deep, more exaggerated facial expressions. Right now I'm using the draw sharp to just redefine the border of the lips. And then I'm gonna mask this area out because we're gonna have to do the upper teeth area. So once again, just doing the same concept as previously, masking a portion of the mesh here that we could extract, and then we're gonna extrude it out. Okay, go into mask and mask extract, turn off extract as solid and press OK. And there you go, we got a little piece to work with, and just select everything and then go ahead and extrude that out. Then use the move tool, just gonna move it down, reposition it in place, just using it as a base that we could draw and sculpt on. So this is definitely a lot like sculpting in clay. You have your basic clay piece that you start out with, and then you use your sculpting tools traditionally to just sculpt the details of the teeth. And just make sure to constantly remesh after you extract and extrude. That way you got more polygons to work with. So as you could probably see by now, we like to start out with low polys as we sculpt, and then as we add more and more the shape, then we start to add more polygons on it by decreasing the voxel size. Yeah, you don't really, some students, I see them just starting out with such a high poly count, they decrease the voxel size. way too low, and that's going to give you way too many polygons to begin with, and it's just going to be harder at the beginning to shape out the mesh. So understand, as the fundamentals of sculpting, it's kind of like drawing. When you draw, you don't add the details right away. You just quickly sketch the basic shape on paper, and then later on you draw deeper and deeper and darker lines on your drawing as you create more and more details. It's the same concept for sculpting. You start out with a basic shape, you sculpt those bigger forms, and then later on you create more and more details. And to be able to create more and more of those details or more of those shapes, you have to increase the resolution of the mesh. Alright, yeah, so right now I'm just like drawing on it, just carving it, and then using my grab brush to just kind of shape out the top part of the teeth here. And of course, looking from the top view, yeah, you still kind of want a round shape when you are doing the teeth area. You don't want it flat. And we're gonna round this out even more later on. But yeah, it's good to have a little bit of information there to work with. And then just back to using the draw sharp to push in the clay there. That way we got a little bit more of the sharpness going. So looking at all views, and then we might make sure you always check your other teeth. Make sure that they are still matching up, and using the grab brush here to just kind of round out the top part of the teeth, round that out. So yeah, like I mentioned before, be very careful. You don't want to stray and go to the flat mesh syndrome. Yeah, the flat mesh syndrome is not good because it's just not going to make your character look good. And let's go to set origin to geometry. That way we have the move tool right where the geometry is at. And then just place that where it needs to go. Alright, so just having a basic shape down for our eyes to work with. Looking from far away, checking out everything, see what else we need to do here. Back onto the sculpting mode, we could kind of shape this out a little bit further using the draw sharp. Yeah, right now everything's looking rough, but yeah, it's good to have something there that we could use later.